Welcome to Issues and Insights. I'm your host, Alina Chesser, and today we're going to be talking about accessibility, acceptance, and advocating. I'm really excited to have some friends here with me. That was my platform for Miss Wheelchair Kentucky, and I'm really excited to get to share more information about this. And I'm joined here with Beth Bryant, Jonathan Newman, and then Deborah, who is our current Miss Wheelchair Kentucky, Deborah Robbins, who drove a long way to get here, but we're really excited to have her here with us. We're going to talk about disabilities, which is sometimes a hard thing to talk about. We're going to share medical information. We're going to talk about pageants. And I think everyone knows that I have a T2 spinal cord injury, which makes me a paraplegic. I stop losing feeling about the bottom of my lungs down. And we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about spina bifida and so much more. And hopefully this will inspire students to go into the medical field around here, which would be awesome. So Beth, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and why you're a wheelchair user?
I was born with spina bifida 57 years ago. In 2013, I went in to have major back surgery, and I had a spinal cord injury during surgery that wound me up using a wheelchair in 2013. So that's what I do now, is have to use a wheelchair, but the wheelchair does not define me to who I am.
That's right. And can you tell us a little bit about what spina bifida is?
Spina bifida is where your spinal cord doesn't form properly. And for me, I had the form myelomeningocele. So I had a hole in my spine, and the nerve endings were hanging out on my back. And back in 1968, they did not know how to deal with that, so they just pushed everything back in and sewed me up. And that was repaired in 1995. And so that repair surgery, I gained things that I didn't have growing up. And then, of course, again, in 2013, I had surgery and wound up in a chair, and we really don't know why. We don't know what happened during surgery. So
yeah, man, that's hard. So Jonathan, will you tell me about yourself?
Yeah, mine, well, Jonathan, my condition is spinocerebellar ataxia, or AOA type 2, and it's the nerves that come off of the spine the signals don't get there really good, so I'll tell my leg left and it'll go right, and I'll tell forward, it'll go back. I do walk, but wheelchair is much easier on me. I was diagnosed with a few different diseases, but they were all wrong, and I finally went to a geneticist back in 2017, I think it was, and got diagnosed with what I have.
And Deborah, I'm so excited to see you here. You are our current Miss Wheelchair Kentucky, and can you tell me a little more about yourself and where you're from so that people can see how far you came to be here with us today?
Like she said, I'm Deborah, and I'm from West Liberty, Kentucky, which is about a 3.5-hour drive, so it was an early morning to get here, but I didn't want to miss it. I'm in a wheelchair because I have something called complex regional pain syndrome. It's actually considered a rare disease, and it causes like the nerves to constantly, where you would normally like stump your toe or smash your finger and your brain would send back signals for the pain to stop. With CRPS, it doesn't. So I'm in constant pain 24/7.
How do you deal with that pain?
Good question. I do a lot of crocheting, knitting, painting, playing the guitar, things to keep my mind off the pain. I've found that distraction works better at times than medicine or anything else the doctors have suggested.
Absolutely, that's what I do too. I make little flower arrangements and jewelry and stuff. Keeps me occupied because, you know, if you're not doing something, if you're sitting at home, you can get in your own head and be lost in there, right? So when you're doing something at home, whether it's, you know, just writing down your problems or making something, which is what I like to do, it does give you that distraction and freedom, right? So we always advocate for that. Now, Beth, you took the place of me. I got to crown you, which was really, really, really cool. So can you tell us now what your role is with the Miss Wheelchair Kentucky?
I'm actually the current state coordinator for the Miss Wheelchair Kentucky program and love what I do. It gives me the opportunity to get out there and try to find women that want to compete to try to win that role of being the current Miss Wheelchair title holder. And I have to work with nationals, which is Miss Wheelchair America, which is actually my boss. So,
And I believe you actually were on the national board at one point too.
Yes,
Can you
I
tell
was.
us what you did for them?
for them, I was the person that actually helped them be able to make decisions with the board. I was that extra person, I guess you could say. Like there was a couple of board meetings I wasn't able to attend,
Yeah.
and they had an issue, so the different ones came to me and asked me my opinion about the issues, and I gave them, my opinion of it,
Right.
and it helped them to make the decision that they were trying to find. So,
Okay, so you were kind of a source, an information source, which is great. So when we are preparing to go to the nationals, and I say nationals, but I should say Miss Wheelchair America, it's a difficult thing, right? Like at first you're like, oh yay, I won, and then you're like, wait a minute, now I got to buckle down. I got things to do. And can you tell us, Deborah, what have you been doing to get ready for Miss Wheelchair America?
First of all, I've been reading lots of paperwork, filling out lots of paperwork. But I've been going to schools and government offices and places and presenting my platform to help me to be prepared for my speech at Miss Wheelchair America.
That'd be great. So when do you leave?
August 18th.
Great.
I will probably leave a couple days early, though.
Yeah, that's a long drive. Are you driving or flying?
Driving.
Oh, yeah, that's a long drive. When I went, we actually hauled a U-Haul behind us because I had so much clothes and everything. We were doing like 3 outfit changes a day, and you're talking about a week. So it's a lot. It's
Yeah.
a lot. And I wanted to make sure I had both wheelchairs in case something happened, So, and you'll be going to Michigan,
Yes.
right? If you don't take the title, do you think that would be heartbreaking, or do you think that you would support the new Miss Wheelchair America as much as you can? What would you do?
I would definitely support. I'm having a blast going out to the schools and places and talking to the children and the adults and just raising awareness and helping people understand wheelchair users.
So I noticed, and I think Beth too, when we became Miss Wheelchair Kentucky, the National Miss Wheelchair America picked up on us really quick. So they started watching what we're doing before then. But also other states were watching as well. Have you been in contact with any other states
Yes. Yes. I've got friend requests from just about all of the ones that's going to be there.
yet? Now, are you going to be looking to see what they're doing so you can be prepared?
I've been following their stories.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask Jonathan, what do you think about pageants? Do you think that they're a good idea, and I have to say, this isn't a beauty pageant. It's looking for somebody to, support everyone with a disability. So how do you think you feel about women being judged? Hard question here.
Yeah. I think, they give you a lot of confidence, and just to get up there and do that takes a lot of confidence. I myself was in a little one when I was a kid, and I'm sure I had a lot of fun, and they're fun.
Yeah, it is fun. It's hard work though, and I always say, Miss Wheelchair Kentucky, we are women before we're wheelchair users, and so nationals, it's a little, that competition kicks in. they're with you even when you're eating breakfast. They're there when you're eating dinner. So you're constantly on, right? So if there was a Mr. Wheelchair Kentucky, would you compete in something like that?
Yeah.
You think
Yeah.
you'd win?
Yeah. I think so.
Oh, so, there are men living with a disability, and we try and get their point of view on everything, right? So could you tell us if you had to prepare a platform, what do you think that you would want to represent? So I did like accessibility and acceptance, right? And she's doing something kind of similar, about getting in places. What would you do?
That's a big one with me too, accessibility, because so many bathrooms are accessible but not usable.
Yeah.
Like you have sinks that are up here and water will run down your elbows into your lap, making it look like you peed in your pants or something.
Yeah.
And 40-pound doors and no little button that you can open that door with.
And I actually see that at doctor's offices even.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, okay, people are coming here for a medical reason. I went to Broadbent Arena, and their wheelchair bathroom, they were there, and it was big. But the problem was they had rails, right, that weren't attached to the walls. They were freestanding. And so I couldn't pull my wheelchair up to the, facility because they were in the way. And so they ended up closing the bathroom down, and my mom ended up having to carry me into a stall. And that's hard, right?
Yeah.
That's a hard thing to have to account for. It makes you feel like you're not worth paying attention to, right? So yeah, we try and get that changed. Back to Deborah here. Can you tell us at Miss Wheelchair America what you're going to say about Kentucky? Because there are so many, I don't know if you've looked up the number, 800,000 people in Kentucky alone living with a disability. How do you want to represent that?
I want to represent us as, like I said, I want them to see people before they see wheelchairs. And I want to represent that, the people of Kentucky, we're not quitters. We're going to fight, and we're going to, make our state to where it can be better, and we want the whole world to be that way.
So I'm going to tell you, and I'm not trying to scare you, but I have to say the Miss Wheelchair America pageant was one of the hardest things I've ever done. And when I went into it, I had just gotten out of the hospital, and I wasn't feeling good, but I know you get one shot. That's it. So if I didn't go, I was not going to get that shot. Actually, I made the doctor sign me out so I could go. So I told him if he didn't, I was going to sign myself out. So have you ever done anything like this before?
No.
I hadn't either. So I'm with you there. So, but I do want to say that, it's a week. Miss Wheelchair Kentucky is a day. It used to be 3 days, but now it's down to a day after COVID, right? So now you've got to think, oh my goodness, I'm going to have 7 days. And we had to have breakfast at 7 in the morning, right? So we're getting up at 5 to get ready. And then, they teach us classes, which is really cool, while other people are getting questioned. And I learned a lot. So that's a good point. But you're up so many hours, right? I think I was going to bed at 11, So it's a constant on because those judges are everywhere. Do you think that this is going to be difficult for you?
In some ways, maybe, but I do volunteer every summer at a summer camp for children with disabilities, and it's 5 days, and it's from breakfast at 7:30 till closing events at 10 o'clock at night. So I guess I do have a little experience, but there I don't have judges watching me. That's the difference.
And they're just people too. So it is scary, but it's okay. Whatever happens, hey, look, you made it Miss Wheelchair Kentucky. That's awesome.
Yes.
right? So I think I know one of the questions that held me back at the Miss Wheelchair America competition. So I'm going to ask you guys, I'm going to ask each of you to kind of give me an answer. See if you give a good answer, and then I'll tell you what I had, okay? So the question is, tell me how you have done something creatively to overcome your disability. So I'll start down here on your end.
I actually crochet stuffed animals for children that also live with disabilities and chronic pain. And that, it kind of gives me purpose because I get pictures back of those children with the stuffed animals they get, and it not only passes my time, but it makes me feel good to help other people.
Awesome. And Jonathan? Anything creative? Yeah.
Nothing. I'd like to take care of my pets and my house, and you know.
It's a lifestyle, right? And then Beth, how do you feel about that? What is something creatively you've done?
My creativity would be when I was introduced to the Spina Bifida Association of Kentucky in 1983. I was a teenager, and I wanted to make a difference in the children that are behind me's life of being around other individuals that did not have a disability, because in my school days there was not anybody that had a physical disability in my schoolhouses that I was in. So for me, I feel like that for 40 something years now I've made that difference, you know, for the ones I have watched grow up and get married and have kids of their own. I feel like that I helped them be able to do that here in the state of Kentucky.
That's wonderful. So that must have been hard, being in school and not having that same connection with people.
Yes.
So, and that was some years ago, and school has changed. Can you tell us how that shaped who you are? Can you tell us what it felt like to be there?
I will give you an experience that happened. I had a first grade teacher that would make me stay in the classroom whenever the kids were at recess. And so I started going home and telling my dad, and my dad was like, "Oh, Beth, you don't know what you're talking about. They're not going to leave you alone in the classroom." And I, "Yes, Daddy, they're leaving me alone in the classroom." And he actually came to the school and came up the back steps, came in the back door, up the back steps, took me home from school, and then went back to school and asked to check me out. And of course they couldn't find me because I wasn't there. And he let us go on for a little bit before they were going to call the police. And he finally said, "Now you walk and settle down. My daughter is at home." She told me that she was being left in the classroom by herself while her friends were at recess. That is not acceptable in my eyes. And if I could kidnap her, anybody could come back and kidnap her.
Yep.
That's,
So my dad helped mold me into the person I am today, as far as advocating for myself and others, not just myself, but for others to get what their needs to be. So that was just one prime example. There was many other examples that happened in elementary school.
that's scary. I mean, that's scary.
And of course, the American Disabilities Act in 1990 kind of helped a lot of that, but we still have a lot of changing to do.
Man. Yeah, so I was kind of like Jonathan. When I got asked the question, I was like, creatively, I don't know, it's a lifestyle. It's not it's not like really, oh, let me create something. It's more like, how am I going to overcome this next dilemma, right? And I have to tell myself, I'm really good at throwing stuff now. So if I go to the grocery store and something's on a high shelf, I will grab something on a lower shelf and bing it until it falls off. So, that may be the only creative thing I've really done, because I consider it a new lifestyle. I was just about to turn 30 when I became a wheelchair user, and so life for me changed really fast. And when I got home from the hospital, it changed again, because I thought I was doing good in the hospital. I got this, right? But they have more accommodations than you do at your house. And, you know, I take every opportunity I can to talk to people about disabilities. And I think I told you guys this before. I've had some really good questions. Deborah, have you been asked any questions that you just thought, oh boy, here's an answer? And what were they?
I had an elementary school child this past Monday that asked me, how did your parents react when you got this disease? And I thought that was pretty deep for an elementary school child. And it was kind of a hard one to explain, because I wanted the kids to understand, you know, my parents were sad that their child was being diagnosed with a rare chronic pain condition, but at the same time, your parents still love you the same.
Yeah. And, you know, I have to say that my mom, I was there. I was not awake for a long time, right? So my mom had to tell me what had happened, right? And I remember her telling me, you know, that I couldn't move my feet no more. And I said, yes, I can, because I thought I was, right? And I thought I could feel things, but the doctor came in one day, and my legs were blue and black, because to check to see if I would feel, they would pinch me, turn the skin different directions to make sure they were stimulating a response, and I didn't give one, right? So my mom, and this heart broke me, my mom actually looked at the doctor and said, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? And I thought, man, you didn't do nothing wrong. Why are you know, so parents do take it hard. So can you tell me if you've had to overcome anything in your life when it comes to having a disability?
No, I'm 47 now, and it came on me when I was like 3 years old. They started noticing little things, but you just live with it, and as time goes on, you're not really overcoming stuff. You're doing it, but you are overcoming things. And I've never really met up with anything that's too tough for me. I just do it.
Yeah.
Just a different way.
Yeah, I mean, it's either do it or be stuck. So you got to do it. I mean, you can't just stop. If you do, then it's going to be worse, right? So you got to keep growing and overcoming things a little at a time sometimes. Also, I got to share, you're talking about elementary schools. I got asked the best question in my entire life at elementary schools. But I'm going to remember this one kid who was in 5th grade. Talk about smart. He looked at me and he said, did they use bone paste when they put you back together? And I was like, can I tell this kid about bone paste? I mean, you know, and I thought, so I answered, it's one I didn't answer. And I said, you know, they did, but we're probably not going to talk about that today. And he told all of his friends in class, well, that's okay, I'll tell you what it is later. And I thought, and if you haven't heard about bone paste, it's when you have a spinal cord injury, they take cadaver bone and they mix it with a glue and they attach it to your back to keep everything fused together. So, you know, that's an intense conversation for a 5th grader, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that, running into accessibility. I have to say I found something amazing at Freeman Lake. Their boat dock is wheelchair accessible. So if you are ever in E-Town, you can go to the dock and it has wheelchair accessibility. They even have canoes that you can get in to do, which I think is really cool. Now, Beth, did you do rowing? Mm-hmm. I think that's what I remember. Can you tell us a little bit about rowing?
My rowing, I was arms and trunk, so it was all upper body. And I competed from 2003 to 2012 in races in Philadelphia, and would go to Philadelphia
That's awesome.
once a year to compete at with Bayada Regatta is what it's called.
Oh,
And then I also did indoor rowing races where I was on an erg, and I did worlds twice and came in second
wow.
in worlds.
That's
So.
that's awesome. You know, I did a little bit of boxing when I first got in my wheelchair, and I started doing that because I was stressed out, and I had been a deputy before my spinal cord injury, right? So I had a little bit of upper body strength to start doing stuff, and I found a punching bag one day, and I just let it all out, right? So I did a little bit of boxing, and I don't know if you've ever seen wheelchair boxing, but they strap your wheelchairs together, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you can't run anywhere. You can't hide. You can just protect your head, and so it's kind of intense. It's not like regular boxing.
Huh.
I know.
Wow.
Like, he's laughing. He's like, I'm going to try that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what other ways do you have fun? Because, you know, we're all different. We want to get out and do things, and, you know, we do sports and things like that. But is there one thing that if they took it away from you, you'd never be the same?
Cooking.
Cooking. What about you, Jonathan?
Never be the same. I do so many things. I like to take care of my dogs. And yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
What about you?
they're a big part.
What do you think?
Crafting.
Yeah, me too. I'm a crafter too. But I think I depend on my husband and mom for a lot as well. So I don't know what I'd do without them as well. And I'm sure you all have support systems too. Tell us who your support system might be, Beth.
My main support system is my church, Beachland Baptist Church. I live not too far from the church. The end of town that I live in, there's only a few family members that I have, but it's my church members. That's where I'm at a lot of the times through the week.
Now, Beth doesn't just do the Miss Wheelchair Kentucky stuff. She does. She raises money for spina bifida, but my favorite event that she does is the Shine. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Shine. It's actually, I won't explain. I'll let you explain what Shine is.
It's the Night to Shine, and it's Tim Tebow is the one that is a host for this event, and it's worldwide. It's not just in the state of Kentucky. It's worldwide, and it happens the Friday night before Valentine's Day, and it's for anybody that has a disability. And they didn't have that kind of stuff whenever I was growing up, so that's how my church kind of got involved. I went to our pastor and said, look, you know, this big event, I've done it outside of other churches a couple years. Can we possibly do it here? And it generates so many people, and it brings them together. And when they walk the red carpet, this event, they know it's all about them. And that's the way I look at it. And my birthday is February 12th, so it's like,
Oh, it's like a birthday present.
it's my birthday present to myself to see these individuals walk in this into this church and walk the red carpet and get crowned, and they know that this event is about them that night, and they can be themselves.
And it really is amazing. I mean, there was karaoke and the DJ in one room, and there's food, and, you know, but I want to stress, too, that when we say all disabilities, it was all disabilities, including that you guys had a room set up in case anybody got upset that they could go and retreat to. And I think that was pretty amazing to see, because that's inclusion of everybody.
It is, and I always bring my little service dog Molly to that event, because if somebody is overstimulated, they can take her into that room, and she loves to be petted on and her belly rubbed, and it gives them the sense of being able to calm themselves down, and she helps calm them down.
That's wonderful.
Then there's a lot that goes on that night. There's games. We have to have at least 150 to 200 volunteers with the people that we have coming in through the door, and I coordinate all the food, so I cater it all as well. So it's and I have to raise money for that. So I'm raising money for 3 different nonprofits. So
and I have to say, it's so funny because they offer limo rides. when you're there. You can just get to go for a ride. And they actually had a police escort. So here I am in a limo riding around, police behind me. So I took the opportunity. I was waving out the window. I was like I was in my own little parade. Have you all ever been to one of these? Oh,
No,
I suggest you go.
Yeah.
It is. It's a hoot. And I don't know if you've ever tried to get from a wheelchair into a limo. It's a little difficult.
Yeah.
They're higher up, and the doors open differently, and so it's like, well, how am I going to get in here? But let me tell you.
They should have helped.
Oh, yeah.
That was their job.
Yeah, they were getting me in there one way or another. And I did. I just laughed the whole time because I thought that, well, alrighty then, here we go. But you know what? That shows that we can go anywhere, you know, and I'm so glad that I got to have you guys here today. And I just want to reiterate about the pageant. This is not a beauty pageant. This is not a beauty pageant.
Nope.
This pageant is for looking for a spokesperson.
Correct.
Looking for somebody who isn't afraid to get out there and say, hey, look at me. This is what's happening. Let's fix it. And right now in the political field, we see a lot of things going on, a lot of things changing. And we don't want to go unnoticed. We don't want to go backwards. We want to go forwards, right? There's no reason we would ever need to go back to the experiences that Beth had, right? Now, if you go to schools, you will see the way the students with disabilities are and what they get to do. I went as a Mrs. Claus last year, to North Hardin to be with their children with disabilities. We got there, we got them off the bus, we stayed all day, we put them back on the bus. We did arts and crafts, and there was a young man who didn't speak, but he pulled up on his little laptop, Santa Claus, and he walked over with his little tablet and showed Santa Claus.
Oh.
And my husband is deaf. We go to the school for the hearing impaired, and they get to talk to Santa, which, you know, they don't normally get to do. So I think it's great that this is out there. And I want to see a change also with schools that they're in regular classrooms, you know, they get that connection with people. So thanks for joining me here today. I really appreciate it. I've had a lot of fun discussing this talk with you. And thank you for joining us and watching. I hope this inspires people to go into the medical field or students' questions that they get them answered. And I hope this really considers inclusion. Thank you so much.